friends, it is I, Mariah Kamei, VP of Marketing, and the famous, I almost said infamous, and then I was like, no, the famous Jamie Lane, our VP of Research. Jamie, we are back yet again to talk through some of the numbers, some of the trends that are emerging as we get ready for hopefully what is going to be a decently hot summer. I mean that like in terms of short-term rental, but I know it's definitely going to be hot in terms of temperature. I think that's already been established. So yeah, heading into the summer, we're looking at May. Mixed bag, I think, a little bit. Let's talk about that mixed bag. So demand was strong, super strong. I think we were up nearly 18% year over year on nights stayed. And we're seeing sort of, again, that mixed bag with consumer spending, right? So seems like it's shifting towards travel, down a little bit on goods, up on travel. I know you recently noted in your report that in terms of jobs added to the US economy, 20% of those were in the leisure industry. So some strong signs there. However, you and I did sit down a few weeks ago and we talked to folks about when they should maybe start getting worried about oil prices and gas prices. Looks like we might be right there at that point. So what does this all mean? What's your read on this, my friend?
Yeah, so a lot of topics there. Let me try to
I threw a lot at you. Yeah.
hit a few of them. One, it is hot. Like, I don't know about Denver, but I'm in Atlanta right now. It's 95 degrees. I'm heading out to Austin for the Inman STR forum. It's going to be 102 as the high. I'm staying in a short-term rental about a half mile away. I think I'm going to need a lift instead of my planned walk to the conference, but it's hot out there.
Well, just keep in mind though, your gas prices, if gas prices are going up, your lift might cost more. I don't know.
Yeah, but it is hot out there in terms of economic news. Lots of mixed signals. Inflation still accelerating. Stock market took a big hit this week. We're taping now before we hear what the Fed's going to do, but expected an increase in interest rates. And the Fed is really trying to give us a soft landing, control inflation while not sort of leading us into a recession. But one of my favorite economists to follow, a guy named Mark Zandi from Moody's Analytics. And I was listening to him talk earlier this week, and I tend to agree with them. An economy that's adding 390,000 jobs a month isn't in recession. So we're still have very strong job market, unemployment at 3.6%. But that said, real incomes are going down. So with how strong inflation is, how much prices are going up, the spending power of the average American and just isn't what it was last year. And we are seeing that in the spending figures. And you hear the headline news about Target and Walmart and inventories really increasing. If you want a deal on patio furniture, now is the time.
I do want a deal on patio furniture. I
Check
do.
out Target.
Go to Target. Let's get off this call. Kidding.
But so far, and I expect it to continue through the summer, we do not see any pullback on spending on services, spending on travel.
Right.
I was just meeting with our friends at STR that track the hotel industry. They're seeing really strong demand heading into the summer, similar to what we're seeing in the short-term rental industry. And short-term rentals are even that much stronger than traditional hotels. So far, it looks like the economic weakness is pretty much isolated to certain sectors of the economy, and us in the travel industry are in a part of are in a sector that's continued to do really well, and across every metric that we track, looking out into the summer, things are still looking very strong. We are more than likely going to see continued weakness in occupancy, but that is not for a lack of demand.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah. Let's break
it
that
is,
down. Yeah.
yeah, we've seen so much new supply added. Supply overall listings are up 25% compared to last year. And that is really and amazing. And it really speaks to how many people are really coming into the sector, buying homes, putting them into the short-term rental ecosystem. But one thing, last summer was really supply constrained.
Yep.
So as we get into this summer, we're going to see so many more people be able to stay in short-term rentals, go to the destinations that they want to stay in. But that does mean we're probably not going to have as high of occupancy that we had last summer.
I love that. Well, and I think what's interesting there also is like, let's just talk a little bit about where that supply has sort of spiked, right? I think there's certain markets that are getting saturated, which is interesting, I think, for folks to see.
Yeah, so and on a percent increase, it is small town rural areas. So areas that have done really well during the pandemic, in and around national parks, really, and the heartland of the country has done great, as have sort of mountain and coastal destinations done really well, a whole lot of additional supply going in. But we've also seen major supply increases in some of the large metro areas. So cities like Phoenix, Houston, Miami, Austin, Los Angeles have actually seen the most the net increase. So all those markets, over 4,000 new listings over the past year.
Crazy, crazy. So I think that's good insight for folks to see. And then we're certainly seeing that demand sort of follow that supply in the coastal areas. I think you were noting that coastal demand is just, spoiler alert, I'm going to the coast next week. I'll be in Oregon, Pacific City. So I'm one of those folks.
Yeah, I mean, when temperatures are 100 degrees plus, like where would you rather go but the beach, right?
Exactly.
And when we look at sort of occupancy on the books today, and areas like the Outer Banks, the coastal Maine area near Acadia National Park, I'll be there in August for 2 weeks. Pawleys Island, it's actually where I just spent Memorial Day. We're really hitting some of these top occupancy places, and they're all really strong occupancy for this summer, similar to last summer, and people booking really far out in advance to sort of secure those spots, and pricing's up. So we are seeing people willing to pay significantly higher prices to rent units in those locations.
Yeah, I think you said we've already got like over 70% occupancy for the summer in some of those coastal markets. So now's a good time to book. Now's a good time to take a look at your prices if you have a unit in those areas. Don't feel like you have to lower the price necessarily. I love that advice. All right, that's great. Well,
and then I'll just and talk through maybe one of your other questions there of where occupancy was weak.
Yeah,
because we have seen, and in May, occupancy was down 8.6%. That was greater decrease than last month when it was down by roughly 1.5%. And this month, occupancy was down across all location types. So we had seen occupancy continue to accelerate in urban areas, suburban areas. This month, occupancy was down on a year-over-year basis in every location type. And that is really a transitioning to more typical seasonality patterns. So last year was really odd that occupancy went up in May from April, when usually it is significantly lower, sort of the shoulder season between high demand during spring break and the lull before summer travel kicks off. And we got more into more typical a drop in the month of May. So in my mind, that's expected. Like, we're not going to see that sort of endless summer that we saw last year. And as we sort of head into summer periods, we're probably going to see lower occupancies throughout, but probably not the big decrease that we saw in May.
Love that. Yeah, I think that that's sort of been like the resounding trend, right? Is like just kind of going back a little bit to normal. I know that's a controversial thing to ever say, but going back to previous travel trends, it sounds like we're still seeing quite a lot of like revenge travel happening, right? People are still prioritizing. They may be spending less in certain areas of their lives, but they are still devoting that money to travel. I always say there's no such thing as a cheap person. There's just a person that's cheap about one part and not cheap about another part. So we're definitely seeing that trend. And then I think, yeah, it's, you know, I hesitate to call it sort of a sobering moment for the industry, but I think it is a moment for folks to, you know, acknowledge, you know, that things can't always be rosy and occupancy can't always be up, demand can't always be up. That, you know, we have different conditions, which is why, of course, AirDNA focuses on giving you guys the best data to make the smartest choices on how to price and how you're pacing with other folks for occupancy. So yeah, I think that's a good advice for folks going into the summer. It's sort of our lull before we get into a big summer outlook report, which folks can look forward to here in the next recording. Jamie, I'm excited for vacation, man. It sounds like you are too. We're also in summer mode. Any parting words for our lovely viewers here today?
Yeah, and not that I need to say it, but the one thing that sort of I'm watching that could derail things for demand this summer is gas prices.
Yeah,
it's not just direct on the consumer and increasing the price of the trip. Costs more to get there, and it could deter some summer travel. But if we get well above that sort of $125 a barrel that we're at now, up and close to 150, that's where it could start having real detriment to the overall economy. So we're keeping a close eye with what's going on in Europe, booking trends throughout as Americans start to travel overseas again, and airline prices are way up. We're seeing cancellations, a reduction in some airline scheduling. So there's a lot out there that could potentially derail things. But as of now, bookings are up, demand's up, and people are willing to pay. So it so far looks like it's going to be a great summer.
I love it. Yeah. And isn't that the way life is? There's always something that can derail us. But if it does, you'll be the first to know. We'll let you know what's happening in the trends, folks, and enjoy your summer travel.
Great. Thanks, Mariah.
Thanks, Jamie.